checked my reflection in the hallway mirror one last time. You look perfect, Emily, I whispered to myself, forcing a smile that felt hollow. Today was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Our engagement. James said he had a surprise for me. I thought it would be romantic, something I'd remember forever. Emily, you ready? Rachel's voice came from the living room, bright and cheerful. Yeah, almost. I smoothed my dress again, trying not to tremble. As I stepped into the living room, my heart did a little flip. James was there, holding a small velvet box, grinning like he always did. Hey, beautiful. His voice was soft, seductive even. I've been waiting for this moment. I smiled nervously. Me too. My hand shook slightly as he opened the box. My ring. My engagement ring. Then I froze. Behind him. Her. Sarah. The girl he had always talked about. The one who haunted every casual story he told about high school. The one he never really let go of. She was standing there, laughing at something only he said. Laughing like she owned the room. James, what's she? My voice broke. He turned slowly, and for a split second, his smile faltered. Emily. I can explain. Explain. Explain what? I asked, my voice rising. You're with her. It's not what it looks like. His eyes darted nervously, but I saw the truth in them anyway. I laughed, bitter, shaking, disbelief spilling out. Not what it looks like. James, you've been planning this while I thought we were. My voice cracked, and I covered my mouth, fighting tears. Rachel grabbed my arm. Emily, breathe. Maybe there's a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? I snapped at her, not meaning to, then immediately felt guilty. But how could I not? The image of James holding her hand, leaning close, smiling at her like I was invisible, it burned in my mind. James took a step toward me. Emily, please, Don't. Just, don't. My voice was barely a whisper, but it cut through the room. I couldn't stand to see him trying to charm me again. I trusted you. I gave you everything. Sarah looked uncomfortable now, but I couldn't see past the rage boiling inside me. She's your first love. I asked, my voice trembling. Yes, he admitted. I didn't mean for it to. For it to what? Destroy everything we had. You destroyed me, James. My knees felt weak. Rachel had to hold me up. You don't understand, he started, but I shook my head violently. I understood perfectly. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to see this day end like this. Rachel guided me toward the door. Emily, let's go. We can talk outside. I don't want to talk. I snapped. I need air. I need to leave this nightmare. As we stepped into the cold evening, my mind spun. I couldn't believe it. All those months, all the plans, the whispered promises, the late-night texts, they were lies. Rachel squeezed my hand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could take this away from you. I wish I could wake up from this, I said, tears streaming down my face. I trusted him more than anyone. I loved him more than anyone. And he just threw it all away. Rachel looked at me, helpless, and I felt a pang of loneliness. Even her support couldn't fill the void he left. Do you want to talk about it? She asked softly. No. I need to think. I need to breathe. I need to escape from everything that reminds me of him. My voice was hoarse, but firm. We walked in silence for a few blocks. My tears had stopped for a moment, but the pain was still there, gnawing at me. I realized I couldn't stay in that apartment tonight. Or ever. Not as long as he lived there. I need to go somewhere. Anywhere but here, I admitted. Rachel nodded, understanding without needing more words. Then we'll figure it out. You're not alone, Emily. But I felt alone. Completely, suffocatingly alone. I hugged her tightly. Thank you for being here. I can't even think about what comes next. You'll figure it out, she whispered. One step at a time. I nodded, letting the cold night air hit my face. My world was shattered, and I didn't know how to pick up the pieces. But one thing was certain. I couldn't go back to the life I had before. Not now. As we walked away from the apartment, I took a shaky breath. Maybe this was the end of everything I knew. Maybe, just maybe, it was the start of something I couldn't yet imagine. I couldn't sleep. My apartment felt too empty, too quiet, like it was echoing all the lies James had whispered to me. Every corner reminded me of him, his laugh, his touch, the way he promised forever. Why did I trust him so blindly? I muttered to myself. The sound of my phone buzzing startled me. Rachel again. Emily, are you okay? Please say you're okay. I stared at the message, fingers hovering over the keyboard. No, I'm not. But I didn't send it. I couldn't. I wanted silence. I wanted nothing. Later that night, I decided to go for a walk to clear my head. The streets were empty, dim streetlights casting long shadows. I barely noticed the car sliding on the wet pavement until it was too late. Watch out! Someone shouted. I felt a sharp jolt, then darkness swallowed me. When I woke, everything was different. The sunlight poured through a window I didn't recognize. My body felt lighter. My heart wasn't pounding from fear. It was steady, calm. I sat up, confusion twisting inside me. Where am I? I whispered. A voice called from the doorway. Emily, you're awake. I turned. A man stood there, tall, disciplined, his posture perfect, eyes steady. Something in him felt grounding. Who are you? I asked cautiously. I'm Michael Thompson, he said. Your cousin. You were in an accident. Don't worry, you're okay now. Cousin. I echoed. My mind reeled. I couldn't remember him visiting before. But I swallowed, panic mixing with disbelief. Everything feels different. You're safe. Just rest, he said calmly. His presence was strangely comforting, unlike James, who had always made me feel unsteady. I forced a shaky laugh. I feel like I've been given a second chance. I can't explain it. Michael nodded, as if he understood more than I expected. Maybe you have. Maybe this is your chance to set things right, to live for yourself. I think I need that, I admitted, the weight of my past mistakes pressing on me. I was so weak. I let him manipulate me. I gave him everything, and he threw it away. You don't get a chance to rewrite life often, Michael said gently. Use it wisely. I will. I swear, I won't make the same mistakes. I won't let anyone control my happiness again, I said, feeling a strange fire ignite inside me. Michael tilted his head slightly, studying me. That's good. Strong women don't wait for anyone's permission to live. I smiled faintly, though part of me still hurt. I don't know if I can trust anyone again. You can trust me, he said simply. I won't let you down. I felt a strange spark of curiosity, something I hadn't felt in months, maybe years. You're different from him, I said, the words slipping out before I could stop them. Michael raised an eyebrow, lips twitching. Different how? Calm. Grounded. You don't need to charm anyone to get what you want. You just are. My heart flooded, surprising me. I quickly added, not that I'm ready for anything. I just notice. He chuckled softly, a sound that felt steady and safe. Noted. I'll take it slow. I nodded, grateful. I needed this. Someone who reminded me that life could be steady, trustworthy, even after betrayal. For the first time in months, I felt possibility. I could rebuild, I could choose me. I could leave James and his chaos behind forever. Michael, can I ask something? Anything, he said. Will you help me figure out how to start over? His smile was quiet but reassuring. Of course. We'll take it one step at a time. You're not alone, Emily. I swallowed, emotion catching in my throat. Thank you. Really? Just remember, he said, you survived. That's more than many get. Now it's your turn to live. I nodded, feeling the weight lift slightly. Maybe this second chance wasn't just about surviving the accident. Maybe it was about surviving life itself. And this time, I wouldn't waste it. I stared at the stack of resumes on my desk and groaned. How did it get this bad? I muttered, shoving papers aside. The office smelled like stale coffee and stress, and every sound seemed to echo my own anxiety. Michael's voice came softly through my phone speaker. Emily, take a breath. Start small. One application at a time. I know, I sighed. It just feels impossible. Like James ruined more than my heart. He ruined my confidence too. You're stronger than you think, he said firmly. Don't let him define you, even indirectly. You control your life, not him. I ran a hand through my hair. Easy to say when you're not the one who just got publicly humiliated. Michael chuckled softly. Humiliated? You're alive, learning, and aware. That's not humiliation. That's opportunity. I smiled faintly despite myself. Opportunity. Right. I'll try to remember that. Later, walking through the office, I almost collided with Claire, a former colleague. Emily, I didn't expect to see you back here so soon. Claire, I said, forcing a smile. Yeah. I needed to update some things. She raised an eyebrow. Heard about James. Everyone's talking. I felt my stomach twist. I'm handling it. She tilted her head. Handled enough to come back to the same office. I laughed dryly. Some of us can't hide forever. Her smile was polite but distant, like she didn't know where to stand. I realized the whispers had probably spread faster than I imagined. Later that day, Michael came by the office. Hey, he said quietly as he leaned against the doorway. I thought you might need a break. I raised an eyebrow. You just enjoy showing up and giving unsolicited advice, don't you? He grinned, and I felt that strange warmth again. I call it concern. I shook my head. Fine, concern it is. What's your advice today? Focus on what you can control. Don't waste energy on what James is doing. He's flaunting, yes, but that's his problem, not yours. I know, I said, frustrated with myself. But seeing him, smiling with her, it twisted something inside me. Michael nodded, calm as ever. Then use that twist. Channel it. Show him the Emily he thought he could break doesn't exist anymore. I stared at him, unsure if I was imagining encouragement or reality. You make it sound so simple. Nothing worth doing is simple, he said with a quiet laugh. But you can do it. You already survived worse. Later, my phone buzzed. Rachel's name flashed across the screen. Emily, call me back. It's important, the message read. I called immediately. Rachel? What's wrong? It's James, she said urgently. He's been asking around about you, showing up at events, trying to make you react. Be careful. I clenched the phone tightly. He can try all he wants. I won't give him the satisfaction. You sure? He's persistent, she warned. I'm sure, I said, my jaw tight. I'm done letting him manipulate me. Done. I hung up and exhaled. Michael's words echoed in my mind. Channel it. I realized my focus had to be forward, not backward. I couldn't undo the past, but I could build myself stronger. The next morning, I joined a fitness class Michael recommended. Emily, you're here early, said the instructor. I need discipline, I muttered, pulling on my gloves. Michael appeared at the doorway, just watching. Proud of you, he said quietly. I couldn't help but smile. Thanks. I appreciate it. Hours later, sweaty and exhausted, I sat on a bench, heart racing. This feels good, I said aloud. You're building more than muscle, Michael said, walking beside me. You're building resilience. I nodded, feeling a spark of determination. I won't be vulnerable again. I won't let anyone, especially James, control me. He looked at me, his expression unreadable. Good. That's the Emily I know can succeed at anything. I laughed softly, feeling stronger than I had in months. Maybe I can. Maybe this is the start of something real. Something mine. Michael smiled faintly. It is, Emily. One step at a time. And I'll be here, quietly cheering. I watched him walk away and felt an unfamiliar sense of calm. The past still stung, but it no longer dictated my next move. I was rebuilding. Slowly, steadily, one step at a time. And this time, I was in control. I didn't expect to see Michael at the office today. He leaned casually against the doorway, arms crossed, his posture perfect, like a soldier who never wavered. "Emily," he said quietly. "Thought I'd check in." I raised an eyebrow. "Check in? You mean make sure I don't break down at my desk?" He smirked faintly. "Something like that." I laughed softly, though the tension in my shoulders eased a little. "Thanks. I guess. I'm managing." Managing isn't enough. He stepped closer, scanning the room as if he were protecting me from invisible threats. "You're stronger than yesterday, but I can see the weight on you." I looked away, embarrassed. "You make it sound easy. It's not." "I never said it was easy," he replied calmly. "But you can do it." Later, I was reviewing documents when a familiar voice cut through the office chatter. Well, look who's back. Emily Parker, pretending everything's fine." I froze. James. His presence didn't need him to be physically here. Just the mention of his name made my chest tighten. "Excuse me," I said, trying to sound steady. "Oh, don't act innocent. Everyone's talking about your little meltdown. Some people never learn, huh?" His words were venomous, but carefully masked with a smile. I clenched my fists under the desk. "I've moved on, James. You don't get to control me anymore." "Oh, we'll see about that," he said smoothly, walking away, leaving a trail of whispers behind him. I exhaled slowly, trying to shake off the anger. Michael, who had been standing nearby, gave me a small nod. "Ignore him. Focus on yourself." I appreciated his calm, steady presence. "It's hard," I admitted. "I know," he said simply. "But you don't have to prove anything to him, or anyone else. Your growth is enough." Later that afternoon, a minor crisis erupted. One of the office contractors started yelling at me over a misplaced report, his voice sharp, accusatory. "This is unacceptable. Who approved this mess?" I froze, caught off guard. I submitted it correctly." He slammed his hand on the desk, leaning toward me. "Don't lie. You've been careless for weeks." I felt panic rise in my chest. "I'm not lying. I double-checked everything." Before I could react further, Michael stepped between us. "That's enough. Back off." The man stared at him. "And who are you?" Michael's gaze didn't waver. "Someone who doesn't let others intimidate people who aren't causing harm." The contractor hesitated, then muttered something under his breath and stormed out. I blinked, heart racing. You didn't have to step in." "I did," he said quietly, his eyes steady. "No one should treat you like that. Not ever." I swallowed, the warmth of admiration creeping through me. "Thank you. Michael. Really?" He nodded, almost shyly. "Just doing what's right. Don't let anyone take advantage of you. Especially him." My chest tightened. "You mean James?" He shrugged slightly. "If you want to waste energy on him, be my guest. But I see a woman who deserves better." I felt my cheeks warm. I'm trying. It's just hard. Hard to trust, hard to let anyone in." "You don't have to decide now," he said softly. "You're allowed to be cautious." I met his eyes, and for a moment, I wanted to reach out, to lean on him, to admit how lonely I'd felt since the betrayal. But I held back. "I appreciate your patience," I said instead. "More than I can say." Michael's expression softened. "You don't owe me anything. Just promise me you won't let the past dictate your future." "I'll try," I whispered, almost to myself. Later, as I packed my things to leave, I heard whispers again, mutual acquaintances talking about James's antics. But for the first time, I felt detached, almost amused. He couldn't touch me anymore. Not my mind, not my heart. Michael walked beside me. "You handled today well. Very well." I glanced at him, a small smile tugging at my lips. I had a good teacher. "Good," he said with a faint grin. "Keep learning. Keep growing. That's how you move forward." I exhaled, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. The past was still there, a shadow looming behind me, but it no longer controlled my steps. For the first time, I imagined a life where James's presence didn't dominate my thoughts, where I could trust myself to choose wisely, and maybe, just maybe, allow someone like Michael into my world. And as we parted at the building exit, I realized I was beginning to hope again. My phone buzzed while I was making tea. I glanced at it and froze. James, I muttered under my breath. The name made my stomach tighten, even now. I debated ignoring it, but curiosity, or maybe some lingering habit, made me swipe to answer. Emily. His smooth, familiar voice slithered through the line. It's been a while. James, I said carefully, keeping my voice steady. What do you want? I wanted to talk, he said, almost casually. Catch up. See how you're doing. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Catch up. You left me. You destroyed everything we had. Why would I want to catch up with you? I made mistakes, he said, his voice softening. But I've changed. I want to make things right. You want to make things right? I repeated, incredulous. Do you know what that even means? You can't just call me, smile over the phone, and erase months of betrayal. I know, he said, frustration creeping in. I just thought, maybe we could talk. Maybe I could explain. Explain? I scoffed. There's nothing left to explain. I already know the truth. I just didn't expect it from you. Emily, please. I care about you. I still do, he said, his tone a dangerous mix of charm and insistence. I straightened, gripping the edge of the counter. Caring doesn't give you the right to destroy someone's life. I'm not that person anymore. I don't need you. I don't want you. There was a pause. I could hear his breathing, tense now. You're cold, he said finally, almost accusingly. I'm alive, I shot back. And I'm not letting you control me anymore. That's not cold. That's survival. I didn't expect this, he muttered. You can't just move on without me. I already have, I said firmly. Every day, without you, I've grown. I've rebuilt myself. You're not part of that anymore. His silence was heavy. I imagined him fuming. The arrogance I once tolerated now sounded pathetic through the phone. You think you've won, he said finally, voice low, dangerous. But life has a way of evening things out. Be careful, Emily. I'm not afraid of life, I said quietly, but with conviction. And I'm certainly not afraid of you. Goodbye, James. I hung up before he could respond. I sank onto the couch, shaking slightly. Anger mixed with relief. I couldn't deny the satisfaction of standing firm, of refusing him the control he once held over me. Later that evening, Michael called. Hey, how's your day? I smiled, feeling a strange warmth. Better. I just had a conversation with James. Oh. His tone was calm but curious. Trying to manipulate me, of course, I said with a wry laugh. Thought he could charm his way back into my life. I didn't let him. That's good, he said, quietly proud. I'm glad you stayed strong. I almost feel lighter, I admitted. Like a weight I didn't know I was carrying is gone. See? Michael said, softly. I told you. You don't need anyone else to validate your strength. We talked for a while, sharing small stories of our day. His calm presence reminded me that trust didn't have to be forced. I realized the emptiness James left was slowly being filled, not with revenge, but with support and understanding. The next day, I ran into mutual acquaintances at a cafe. Emily, have you seen James with Sarah? One asked, lowering their voice. He's been trying so hard to impress her, but I don't know. Something feels off. I blinked, curiosity flickering. Off. Yes, they whispered. He's not as charming as he used to be. She seems annoyed at him sometimes. It's like the truth is catching up with him. I smiled faintly, heart steady. It was satisfying, not in a cruel way, but in a natural, poetic sense. Karma, it seemed, had its own timeline. Later that evening, I sat with Michael on his balcony, the city lights glittering below. Do you ever think about revenge? I asked, quietly. Michael tilted his head, studying me. Revenge can feel satisfying at first, but it rarely brings peace. Why? Because I see him struggling. Part of me wants to. I stopped, realizing the thought felt hollow. Maybe I don't want to. Maybe I just want to move on and let life take care of him. Michael reached over, gently touching my hand. That's wise. You're stronger than your anger. Don't let it control you. I'm trying, I whispered, feeling the weight of my rebirth settle around me. I used to be so consumed by him. Now, I can see that life is bigger than James, bigger than his manipulation. You're learning, he said quietly, and you're not alone. Not anymore. I looked at him, a soft smile forming. Thank you, Michael, for reminding me that life isn't just about surviving pain, it's about living after it. He smiled faintly. Always. As we sat in silence, I realized I had a choice. I could chase revenge, or I could rebuild, thrive, and let karma do its work. For the first time, I felt the answer clearly. And for the first time, I believed I was ready to embrace it. I felt my stomach tighten as I stepped into the crowded room. The soft hum of conversations, clinking glasses, and laughter filled the space, but I barely noticed. All I could see was him, James, standing by the bar, smug grin plastered across his face, Sarah by his side, leaning too close, whispering, laughing. I exhaled slowly and gripped my drink. Okay, Emily. You can do this, I muttered under my breath. Michael appeared at my side, his presence steady, silent. Ready? He asked softly. I am, I said, forcing my voice to remain calm. This isn't about him. It's about me. We walked toward the group, my heels clicking on the floor. I could feel James's gaze snap toward me, eyes widening slightly, a flicker of something I couldn't identify crossing his features. Emily, he said smoothly, stepping forward. I didn't expect to see you here. You look good. Thanks, I said, my tone cool. I didn't come for compliments, James. I came to talk. Talk? He raised an eyebrow, amused. About what? We've already. Already what? I interrupted, voice rising just enough to draw attention. Already destroyed my life. The room quieted slightly, and I felt every eye on us. Perfect. I wanted this moment to be mine. You don't understand, he said, tone shifting, trying to charm me as he always did. It's complicated. We can work this out. I can. No, I said firmly, cutting him off. There's nothing to work out. You made your choice. I made mine. And my choice does not include you. He blinked, surprised, but his arrogance surfaced immediately. You think you're better than me now? I think I'm free, I said, meeting his gaze without flinching. Free from manipulation, free from lies, and free from waiting for someone who never deserved me. Whispers rippled through the room. Some friends exchanged glances. A few muttered under their breath. I didn't care. I wasn't speaking for them. I was speaking for me. You're bold, he said, voice tight now, trying to regain control. I'm honest, I replied. And honesty is stronger than charm, James. Something you'll never understand. His lips twitched, and he tried to regain his composure, but the tension was there. Sarah looked confused, glancing between us, her confident smile faltering. Then, something small but satisfying happened. He reached into his jacket pocket, fumbling, and a small box slipped from his hand, clattering on the floor. The ring. The engagement ring he had intended for me. I bent down, picking it up, feeling the weight of the betrayal in my hands. This? I asked, loud enough for the nearest people to hear. This is what you wanted me to wear? To forgive you? James froze, words failing him. I stood, holding the ring, letting my eyes scan the crowd. No, I don't need this. I don't need you. And I certainly don't need anyone pretending to care when all they've done is hurt me. Michael shifted beside me but didn't speak. His quiet support made me feel stronger, grounded. I didn't need anyone else to witness my power. I felt it internally, surging. James tried to speak again. Emily, wait. No, I interrupted again. I've heard enough. The truth has spoken for itself. The whispers grew louder now. Friends and acquaintances exchanged glances, some murmuring, some nodding in quiet approval. I realized the damage James thought he could hide was becoming visible. He opened his mouth, closed it, and finally muttered, "You're impossible." "I'm realistic," I said, softly, but with conviction. "And I choose to live a life that's mine, not defined by your arrogance." I turned to Michael. "Come on. Let's go." He smiled faintly. "As you wish." As we walked away, I felt a strange thrill in my chest. Not revenge. No, this wasn't about revenge. This was about reclamation. I had taken my power back. I wasn't the same person who had cried over him, who had begged for scraps of attention. Outside, I let the cool air wash over me. "I can't believe I'm actually feeling relief," I said quietly. "You should," Michael replied. "You did what needed to be done. You stood up for yourself." I smiled faintly. It feels liberating. For once, I'm not defined by him. Not by his choices, not by his lies. He looked at me, eyes steady. "And that, Emily, is what real strength looks like." I realized then that my happiness was no longer tied to James's validation. I didn't need his approval or recognition. I didn't need to prove anything to him, or to anyone else. The engagement ring still weighed in my pocket, but now it felt symbolic. A reminder of betrayal, yes, but also a token of my courage, my voice, and my growth. I exhaled deeply. "This is just the beginning," I whispered, feeling the first true taste of freedom. Michael placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. "And I'll be here, every step of the way." For the first time in months, I believed it. My life, my choices, my happiness, mine and mine alone. I heard the news over coffee with Rachel. She practically dropped her cup, eyes wide. "Emily, did you see this?" I leaned in, curiosity piqued. "See what?" "James," she whispered, lowering her voice. "His whole little perfect life. It's unraveling." I raised an eyebrow. "Unraveling how?" "Sarah found out about his lies." "About everything," Rachel said, shaking her head. "She's furious. And work, they're not thrilled either. He's being reprimanded publicly." I felt a strange relief, tempered by a hint of lingering anger. "Finally," I murmured. "About time he faced some consequences." Rachel smirked. "Some would say it's poetic justice." I smiled faintly. I wouldn't call it poetic. Just deserved. Later that day, I met Michael at the park. He was sitting on a bench, reading a book. I waved, and he looked up, his smile steady as always. "You look lighter," he said when I sat down beside him. "I feel lighter," I admitted. It's strange, seeing him crumble from a distance. Relief, mostly. But I'm not savoring it. I just feel like I can finally breathe. Michael nodded. "That's the point, isn't it? Not revenge. Just moving forward." "Exactly," I said. "I'm learning that strength isn't cruelty. It's emotional control. Resilience. Choosing what to feel, and when." He smiled softly. "You've come a long way, Emily. I'm proud of you." I blushed slightly, looking down at my hands. "Thanks. That means a lot, coming from you." He shifted closer, quietly, without words. That silent support was comforting, more than I ever expected from anyone. Later, Rachel called again. "He's trying to reach you," she warned. "Texts, emails, all just begging for attention. Don't respond." "I won't," I said firmly. "I've had enough. I'm done with his chaos." Rachel exhaled, relieved. "Good. Let him deal with the mess he created." The following week, whispers at work confirmed the rumors. James had been called in by management, his reputation tarnished. Colleagues no longer sought him out, and I noticed subtle looks of pity or disbelief when his name was mentioned. I overheard a coworker mutter, "I can't believe he lied so openly. He looked so perfect, but..." I smiled faintly, sipping my coffee. "Not perfect at all," I said quietly to myself. That evening, Michael and I cooked dinner together at his apartment. "You're a natural at this," he teased, stirring the sauce. I laughed. "Only because you don't let me burn the kitchen down." He chuckled softly. Fair enough. We ate, sitting side by side, the conversation flowing easily. Small moments, the brush of our hands, shared laughter, made my heart race gently. I realized I was enjoying his company in ways I hadn't expected. Emily, he said, after a pause, do you ever think about everything that's happened? All the time, I admitted. Sometimes I feel anger, sometimes relief, sometimes just gratitude. Gratitude that I survived it, that I grew, that I can finally see what matters. And, he asked quietly, watching me carefully. And, I trailed off, then smiled softly. I don't need him anymore. Not for my happiness. Not for validation. I can live fully without him controlling my emotions. He nodded. That's true strength. Not revenge, not cruelty. Just living well and moving forward. I felt warmth spread in my chest. Exactly. And seeing him face consequences. It's satisfying, yes, but I don't dwell on it. I just let it be. Michael reached across, gently squeezing my hand. And you're not alone in that. You never were. I looked at him, feeling a strange intimacy forming. I know. And it's comforting. More than I realized I needed. The next day, Rachel texted, James tried to corner me today, asking about you. I told him to stop. Karma's doing its work, Emily. Enjoy it from your side. I smiled at the screen. I am, I whispered. From my side, it feels balanced. Not cruel, not vengeful. Just right. Later, Michael and I walked along the river. Do you ever think about the past? He asked. Sometimes, I admitted. But I'm learning that reflection is different from obsession. I can look without getting stuck. And the past, it taught me what I value, what I deserve. He nodded. And you deserve peace, happiness, trust, all of it. I know, I said softly, squeezing his hand back. And I feel it more every day. Even small things, like sharing this moment with you, remind me that life is bigger than any one betrayal. He smiled, leaning slightly closer. I'm glad I can be part of that. I looked at him, warmth in my chest, and realized something important. True strength wasn't revenge. It was emotional maturity. It was reclaiming joy without needing someone else to suffer. It was surrounding myself with people who uplifted me, who reminded me that life could be gentle and steady after pain. And James, he was learning that the hard way, on his own. I exhaled deeply, feeling the satisfaction of quiet justice. Not loud, not boastful, just inevitable and natural. Michael squeezed my hand again, ready to head back. I smiled, feeling whole in a way I hadn't in years. Ready. As we walked back, side by side, I realized the past no longer haunted me. It had shaped me, yes, but it no longer controlled me. I was free. I was strong. And for the first time in a long time, I felt truly at peace. I felt my stomach tighten as I stepped into the crowded room. The soft hum of conversations, clinking glasses, and laughter filled the space, but I barely noticed. All I could see was him, James, standing by the bar, smug grin plastered across his face, Sarah by his side, leaning too close, whispering, laughing. I exhaled slowly and gripped my drink. Okay, Emily. You can do this, I muttered under my breath. Michael appeared at my side, his presence steady, silent. Ready? He asked softly. I am, I said, forcing my voice to remain calm. This isn't about him. It's about me. We walked toward the group, my heels clicking on the floor. I could feel James's gaze snap toward me, eyes widening slightly, a flicker of something I couldn't identify crossing his features. Emily, he said smoothly, stepping forward. I didn't expect to see you here. You look good. Thanks, I said, my tone cool. I didn't come for compliments, James. I came to talk. Talk? He raised an eyebrow, amused. About what? We've already. Already what? I interrupted, voice rising just enough to draw attention. Already destroyed my life. The room quieted slightly, and I felt every eye on us. Perfect. I wanted this moment to be mine. You don't understand, he said, tone shifting, trying to charm me as he always did. It's complicated. We can work this out. I can. No, I said firmly, cutting him off. There's nothing to work out. You made your choice. I made mine. And my choice does not include you. He blinked, surprised, but his arrogance surfaced immediately. You think you're better than me now? I think I'm free, I said, meeting his gaze without flinching. Free from manipulation, free from lies, and free from waiting for someone who never deserved me. Whispers rippled through the room. Some friends exchanged glances. A few muttered under their breath. I didn't care. I wasn't speaking for them. I was speaking for me. You're bold, he said, voice tight now, trying to regain control. I'm honest, I replied. And honesty is stronger than charm, James. Something you'll never understand. His lips twitched, and he tried to regain his composure, but the tension was there. Sarah looked confused, glancing between us, her confident smile faltering. Then, something small but satisfying happened. He reached into his jacket pocket, fumbling, and a small box slipped from his hand, clattering on the floor. The ring. The engagement ring he had intended for me. I bent down, picking it up, feeling the weight of the betrayal in my hands. This? I asked, loud enough for the nearest people to hear. This is what you wanted me to wear? To forgive you? James froze, words failing him. I stood, holding the ring, letting my eyes scan the crowd. No. I don't need this. I don't need you. And I certainly don't need anyone pretending to care when all they've done is hurt me. Michael shifted beside me but didn't speak. His quiet support made me feel stronger, grounded. I didn't need anyone else to witness my power. I felt it internally, surging. James tried to speak again. Emily, wait. No, I interrupted again. I've heard enough. The truth has spoken for itself. The whispers grew louder now. Friends and acquaintances exchanged glances, some murmuring, some nodding in quiet approval. I realized the damage James thought he could hide was becoming visible. He opened his mouth, closed it, and finally muttered, You're impossible. I'm realistic, I said, softly, but with conviction. And I choose to live a life that's mine, not defined by your arrogance. I turned to Michael. Come on. Let's go. He smiled faintly. As you wish. As we walked away, I felt a strange thrill in my chest. Not revenge. No, this wasn't about revenge. This was about reclamation. I had taken my power back. I wasn't the same person who had cried over him, who had begged for scraps of attention. Outside, I let the cool air wash over me. I can't believe I'm actually feeling relief, I said quietly. You should, Michael replied. You did what needed to be done. You stood up for yourself. I smiled faintly. It feels liberating. For once, I'm not defined by him. Not by his choices, not by his lies. He looked at me, eyes steady. And that, Emily, is what real strength looks like. I realized then that my happiness was no longer tied to James's validation. I didn't need his approval or recognition. I didn't need to prove anything to him, or to anyone else. The engagement ring still weighed in my pocket, but now it felt symbolic. A reminder of betrayal, yes, but also a token of my courage, my voice, and my growth. I exhaled deeply. This is just the beginning, I whispered, feeling the first true taste of freedom. Michael placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. And I'll be here, every step of the way. For the first time in months, I believed it. My life, my choices, my happiness, mine and mine alone. I sat at my desk, morning sunlight streaming through the window, and smiled faintly. It was quiet, peaceful, a contrast to the chaos that had once defined my life. Coffee in hand, I whispered to myself, I made it. Finally. Rachel's text buzzed. Brunch today. You deserve a celebration. I smiled and typed back, absolutely. See you at 11. A few hours later, I met her at our favorite cafe. Emily, she said, hugging me tightly. You look radiant. Seriously. Thanks, Rachel, I said, laughing softly. It's been a journey. A long one, but worth it. Worth it? More like miraculous, she said. I've seen the way you've handled everything. James, work, your life. You're stronger than ever. I shrugged, though warmth spread in my chest. I've learned to value myself first. That's the biggest change. Rachel sipped her coffee thoughtfully. And Michael? I smiled, watching a group of kids run past the cafe window. Michael, he's steady, patient, the kind of person who reminds me that love doesn't have to hurt to be real. That's amazing, Rachel said softly. You deserve someone like that. Later, Michael and I walked through the park. The spring air was crisp, carrying the scent of blooming flowers. He glanced at me. How are you feeling today? Grateful, I admitted. Grateful for the second chance, grateful for growth, and for you. He smiled, squeezing my hand. I'm grateful too. That you trusted life enough to keep going, even when it hurt. We stopped near a fountain, sitting on a bench. It's strange, I said, looking at the water ripple in the sunlight, to think about how far I've come. From heartbreak and betrayal, to this. To peace. Michael offered. Exactly, I said softly. I used to let pain define me. Let people like James control my emotions. Now, I choose. I decide what affects me, what I let in. And that choice makes all the difference, he said. I leaned against his shoulder. You know, seeing James finally face the consequences, it was satisfying in a quiet way. But I don't dwell on it anymore. It's just a lesson now. A memory, not a shadow. Michael nodded. That's growth. Emotional strength. I closed my eyes, letting the moment sink in. I think. I finally understand what it means to be free. Not from someone else, but from my own fears, doubts, and attachments. Freedom feels full, alive. A gentle laugh escaped Michael. You're poetic when you reflect, you know that. I'm serious, I said, smirking. It's not just about love, or revenge, or proving anything. It's about life. And life is richer when you live it on your own terms. Agreed, he said softly. And you're living beautifully. That evening, I returned home and opened a letter that had arrived from an old mentor. Inside was an offer to lead a project I'd dreamed of for years. My heart raced with excitement. This is it, I whispered. The next step. Michael peeked in. Big news. Yes, I said, smiling brightly. A new opportunity. Something I've worked toward. And I get to do it without fear, without hesitation. He wrapped me in a hug. I'm proud of you, Emily. Truly. We spent the night talking about plans, dreams, and future adventures. Every word, every laugh, every shared silence reminded me that I had earned this life. Pain had been temporary, growth permanent. A week later, I met Rachel and a few old friends for dinner. Emily, you seem lighter than ever, one said. It's like the past never touched you. I laughed softly. It did touch me. It shaped me. But I didn't let it define me. That's the difference. Wisdom looks good on you, Rachel said, raising her glass. To growth, I said, lifting mine. To choosing ourselves. To living fully, despite the past. Later, Michael and I walked along the city streets, hand in hand. The evening air was cool, and the lights reflected like stars on wet pavement. Emily, he said softly, do you ever worry about challenges ahead? Of course, I said honestly. Life isn't perfect. There will always be unexpected twists. But I've learned that pain is temporary, and I have the strength to face whatever comes. And happiness? He asked. Happiness, I said, smiling, comes from choice. From valuing myself, trusting my instincts, and allowing love that respects me to grow. We paused, looking up at the night sky. I feel ready, I said quietly. Ready for life, for challenges, for joy. Michael brushed a strand of hair from my face. Then we face it together, he said. Side by side, always. I squeezed his hand, heart swelling. Yes, together. I thought briefly of James. His downfall was complete, public and personal, but I didn't feel the need to relish it. That chapter of my life existed only as a lesson now. No bitterness, no longing, just clarity. The soft glow of streetlights reflected in the puddles as we continued walking. I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. My heart was full, my mind clear, my spirit unburdened. I whispered to Michael, "Thank you, for being patient, for believing in me, for letting me grow." He smiled, resting his forehead lightly against mine. "Always, Emily. Always." And as the night wrapped around us, I realized something profound. Pain is temporary. Growth is permanent. True happiness doesn't come from external validation. It comes from the choices we make, from the strength we cultivate, and from the courage to love ourselves and others authentically. With Michael by my side, friends around me, and the lessons of the past firmly behind me, I was finally free. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. And for the first time, I was fully, completely, irrevocably happy.